This is Talking My Walking. I am Rodrigo Ribeiro, just another voice in the wilderness. Today I'm going to talk about how the sense of self-esteem and self-worth and the need to belong are instrumentalized in a class caste societal system. Most of my intellectual efforts are toward an holistic understanding of how of the socio-cultural nature of the human condition, which means that every aspect of our nature as individuals, as individuals that are conscious of being individuals, but also as individuals that are part of a society, of a community. And how do we, as also cultural beings, which means that are individuals that live, that understand, that perceive, behave, relate, and everything through ideas and values and principles that are organized in narratives. Narratives that are not part of nature. They are creations of our imagination, of the power of our minds to create symbolic language and be able to, through fictional creations, explain or try to explain the reality. But it's not only about to explain the reality, it's about giving meaning and purpose through organizing a society, organizing how the community, organizing how the economy functions, the function of the economy, what's the purpose of the society, what's the purpose of the individual, and what's the purpose of the family. And we are this is very important, because this is how that's our psychosociocultural identity is built. And then it just becomes part of us as living organisms. We are not a library. We are not we are a living being. And as a living being, we need the purpose of our systems, of our all the systems that compose our body, is to keep our body functioning. The homeostasis is in at good levels, compatible with life. But if we live in this artificial medium, if we have to survive, if our references, which are internalized, make us behave and adapt and adopt certain principles and habits and behaviors and ways of thinking, ways of perceiving, that we believe that they are ours, in the sense that since they are so much part of us, we most of the time don't even imagine that they are part of a collective, they are part of a mechanism a sociocultural, ideological, political mechanism. And if we do not understand that these mechanisms in complex societies are delegated to certain groups, specific groups, especially in our case, especially in the professional managerial class, okay? They are the ones. Who are the people that work for the public relations machinery? Who are the people working in academia, in so many fields, scientific fields, social sciences, all this? What these people are the ones that in their functions and roles provide the system with the legal codes. They are the ones that craft the rules, craft the legal codes, craft the narratives by which we play. So this is I insist because it's very important to understand there is no single human being that is not indoctrinated, instrumentalized through the weaponization. What is instrumentalization? Instrumentalization is the weaponization of values, ideas, okay, rules of how to behave, rules of this, rules of that, into logical narratives, moral narratives, stories that are crafted to manipulate, to shape our perception, the perception of ourselves, the perception of others, the perception of the environment, our socio-cultural, political environment, but also the environment at the nature and the rest of the living community. And that is what shapes our behavior, shapes our thoughts, and always under the premise and under the belief system that this is part of our choices. We choose it freely, as we live as if we somehow were born and raised in the absence of a society, of ideology, of narratives that help us to make sense of the reality and ourselves. Religion, literature, so everything. So the thing is, as social beings, we need to belong. We need to belong to a group. We need to belong to our, when we are during our youth, we all have, we can have friendship throughout life, but especially we need our groups. We need to socialize, and we have all these things, all these patterns, these paradigms, these places, these events where we are supposed to intermingle, especially between the people from the boys and girls, and so we need to belong. We need to be accepted. We look for meaning, and we look for purpose, and we don't need to do it. We don't need to be aware or conscious of this. We do it as human beings. We just do it. That's part of our behavior. That's part of how we are as a species. So that's why it's so important, all these things. It's important to understand shame and guilt. It's important to understand how frustration is also important. Frustration and grievances, personal grievances, group grievances, family problems, trauma, all of these counts. Because all of this is instrumentalized. All of this is weaponized to be used to give alternative. To this. Okay, you have been ridicularized. I'm sorry. We have been this and that and so on and so forth. But through this narrative, through this group, through belonging to this group, your self-esteem, okay, your sense of self-worth, and your need to belong, you are fulfilled. You can, it can be done through many different groups. But also you can do it in a kind of ways that are not very problematic to society. Through sports and clubs and all these groups and that we identify with as part of our identity, that we just because of our personal preferences or whatever it is, the combination. Usually this is combinations of, this is not a single thing. It's usually is a combination of circumstances and personality, temperament traits, all these things together that, of course, the historic time, we always are conditioned by the time, by where we live and the epoch and everything, okay? So we can be more to bend towards a trend or to other trend or to this or that. That can be not, besides distracting, besides serving the purpose of not helping us really to truly understand ourselves and go the route of a self-analytical and the search for a true meaningful life, with awakeness to where we live. Why do we live the way we live? Why we need to conform with this and that? What is expected from us? Why should I obey this and that? And many other questions that we should, many whys that we should ask, if we want to live in a healthy society. The problem is that we can see that, for example, in the in the Nazi movements. The Nazi movements are an example of especially young men, teenagers eventually. All this, when we are growing to become men, and we can have a lot of frustrations, okay? Many frustrations, many social frustrations, sexual frustrations, and all these frustrations are so easily weaponized. And then, instead of solving the problem, you are going to be given self-worth through the sense to belonging by belonging to a group that tells you the target responsible, or the targets responsible for your for you not being able to have a fulfilled life, is that those guys, the blacks, the gypsies, the immigrants, and these can be gays, can be lesbians, can be this, can be the women in general, can be whatever. And then the accumulation of those frustrations are funneled to use our ability to be violent, okay? But this is not because we are violent naturally, okay? We need violence, and aggressiveness is part of life, all right? But in these cases, violence has been we have been instrumentalized. Instead of being liberated and understand where our frustrations come from, and how could we, as a society, help people to live with frustrations, and to live with the extreme cases of people that are really psychopathic and sociopathic, that we need to have forms of not allowing these people to control society, okay? Because this is the danger. It has been the danger, and it is the danger why we have the societies we have. In a class caste society, this is why we need to think about this as, I would say, the core issue of the class caste based societal systems. That our need to belong, okay, our sense of self-worth and self-esteem, instead of being trained, okay, because everything in human beings is trainable. It is to be that we feel part of a community, that we need to care about the collective well-being, because that's the one of the core ideas too. Our individual freedoms, our individual well-being, it will be more sustained and more resilient if we care about not the pursuit of self-interest, not because we are not interested in preserving ourselves or preserving our well-being, but that's not the main driver. Okay, the main driver of human as Homo economicus. But because if we get this picture, this holistic picture about us, and we start to understand that we have been fed wrong misconceptions, wrong explanations, misconceptions about the very nature, the socio-cultural nature of the human condition. Because it's always the environment where it has been us, okay? You can say, okay, you are always blaming society and civilization and this and that. I'm not blaming that, but civilization and societies are built by us, sure. But by whom? In the interest of whom? Cui bono? That's the point. That's the point. Why, if we understand in a holistic, comprehensive way how we are so easily instrumentalized through the weaponization of our grievances, and our need, the pursuit for self-worth, our need to belong, through the weaponization of shame and guilt, through the weaponization of our grievances and frustrations, not to liberate us, but to use us as weapons, no, to divide us. That's the sense of instrumentalization. It's because we can be instrumentalized by a culture of true liberation, or by a culture that we are following. We are mainly followers. We mostly reproduce the opinions and the lines of thoughts of others, because we don't develop this ability, or train this ability of self-analysis, of analyzing where our thoughts come from, where our belief systems come from. It is just a question of free choice and free decision, or is it a much larger and deeper reality that we need to understand how it works and how it affects our life, how it weaponizes us against ourselves? So this is and all the system, this patriarchal system where we live, okay, it's still patriarchal. Where it came from? Why it was important and crucial to have this patriarchal family, this idea that and then you create a family, that this unit in society. It is almost as Thatcher said, that society doesn't exist. It only exists individuals and families. Which is true. That's by those rules that we play. And that's why we cannot organize against. It would be so easy. What's the point of this? Point of this is, why don't we organize at this precise moment in history? We have in the Western countries, across the board, everywhere, might be exceptions, okay? There is always exceptions. That's why exceptions just are very useful to confirm the rule. Why can't we organize? Why? What is it our condition? Is it because of our condition that we don't organize and unite around a vision of a society, a vision of a civilization that we would be able to fight for, in order to these people that are now working hard towards, probably could be total annihilation, or especially maybe it's the European. If the European keeps, this is part of what I'm trying to say. If the European keeps poking the bare eyes, we might be in a very dangerous situation sooner rather than later. So, and why we don't organize? It is because we are individualistic naturally. Is really that the problem? Or is it a socio-cultural construct, which is also economic and political? It is everywhere. It is pervasive. This individualistic and this idea of the individual and the family unit And then all the rest that comes with it, the proprietary rights, the inheritance rights, all these things that we don't think about, or the monetary system, interest, which is usury. Why do we have inflation? What is the main reason why we have inflation? Because we have to pay for the interest and compound interest. Where does that money come from for the lender class? I mean, this parasitic class that should not exist. But somehow they are the ones that pull the strings of the entire system. And then, just because we allowed the worst among us, the worst with the features that are exactly the exception, not the rule. You know, the ones that are that have psychopathic traits, sociopathic traits, I keep saying it, narcissistic, opportunists, unscrupulous opportunists, and megalomaniacs. They are the ones that really can't pull the strings, because this is once this system is settled as it is, and it's older than capitalism. That's one point I really like to emphasize, because this problem, if we do not deal with it really to the roots, you know, we have not a proper diagnosis, we won't be able to solve it. That's why I don't see the solution in China. I don't bash China. I believe China has been doing important things, but there are things about the Chinese society that is still reproducing, and that's my point, is still reproducing the same old patterns of the imperialistic civilizational paradigm. And that's the individualistic and this individualistic, this focus on the individual and family doesn't allow us to have a sense of a larger community that needs to be built on trust, reciprocity, you know, trust and reciprocity, the sense of common justice, shared justice, and truth. But truth is associated with trust. That's why we have built a system that where trust is. Then we are instrumentalized. I know this is not easy to follow, but we are instrumentalized through patriotism, okay, nationalism, and other isms. All right, but we rarely are instrumentalized. That's why we don't have a culture of true liberation, because we are not instrumentalized, which we should be, through the sense of belonging to a community, a national and international community of human beings that are part of the web of nature. As culture, it needs to be part of the web of living beings that are part of web of life, and culture as part of web of nature. If we want to build a truly ecological civilization, not the one that is purposed by China, not because, again, what I'm saying is not to. This is because we need to reflect, to go to the roots of the problems and truly reflect. Why are we the way we are? Why aren't we able to do anything to stop this madness that is going now in Europe? Is it a failure of the human can we point the finger to the very nature of the human condition, or maybe is something else going on? That the very nature of the human condition, it is true that the nature of the human condition, the socio-cultural nature of the human condition, can be weaponized and instrumentalized against humanity. That is true. And that is being done in the name of whatever. God, liberty, freedom, many rights, many things. But what it is about entitlement. It's about some wanting to have the ability to have privileges that deny others. And instead of having an economy, a sufficiency and reciprocity economy, a socio-ecological political economy, and a true ecological holistic civilization, what we still have and are still reproducing at the individual level and at the collective level is the imperialistic, is the civilizational paradigm, is the patriarchal, is this hierarchical, caste class hierarchical system that where the property rights, okay, it is to reinforce those with wealth and property, not you or me, but we are supposed to be the instrumentalizers to become accomplices. That's how it works. And so many people, I mean, I think that's why the division works. I mean, this is incredible, but it's the truth, you know. And this is not easy to. You need to go very deep into in the rabbit hole to start to understand the connections, all these connections between so many things. Because so many people on the left still they feel entitled to privileges. You know, they call themselves, they are even Marxists. But, you know, they still believe in privileges and entitlements. Because they have this perception, they don't, it's very difficult for people to understand the reality and human societies through the lenses of a class caste-less society. It is difficult. As it is also difficult for most people, even the poor, the ones that have very little, to think outside the box of private property ownership, of inheritance rights, and interest, and all these very foundational principles, ideas of the imperialistic civilizational paradigm that we do not dare to really challenge, question, in order to understand where are the real roots of the problems. It's not the condition, it's not the social, it is, we should not blame the human condition, because the human condition is the plasticity, the capability of us to adapt, to adapt and adopt so many different, because of this symbolic language, this ability to create narratives that really are at the basis of how we perceive ourselves, and how we perceive others, and how we relate to each other. This is for me, if we do not go to these roots, I think we always are going to miss the true nature of our problems as a human species that lives now in complex societies, class caste based societies, where the one of the main rules is divide to conquer, okay, and we do not and we understand it, but as I keep saying, I keep repeating it, it's not enough to understand intellectually. We can understand many things intellectually, and it's important, but if we do not go through a process, a conscious process, transformative process, through self-analysis and through really critical analysis of anything and everything we believe, and try to understand language framing and logical fallacies and rhetorical tricks and all the rest, we are played all the time. Well, we can talk as much as we want about freedoms and this and that. It's just BS. You know, the moment you don't comply, you are done. Okay? You lose your job. You lose your privileges. You become a nobody. That's how the system works. All right? Okay. This is enough for today. I will have to come back as I usually say, because I might have said a lot of things, and I might most probably I left more out, not intentionally for sure, but that's how the conversation evolves. So I will come back to this issue again. Thank you for listening. I will be back soon.